Okay, Christina here to listen to some music, and today's music selection is Layla by Eric Clapton. This is a live version of this song at Royal Albert Hall in 1991, and apparently there's an orchestra with it, so that's always exciting for me, violinist here. So I know a little bit about Eric Clapton. He had a really popular song that came out in the early 90s, which was a time in my life where I was actually kind of into some popular music. So a song called Tears in Heaven was really popular and on the radio all the time. Really beautiful song. But I don't know anything else about him. In fact, I didn't know who he was at that time. Everyone was always excited about him and had all this respect for him. And I was like, I don't know who he is, but it's a nice song. So I enjoyed that song at the time. So now I get to learn more about this artist. Apparently, he has been a solo artist his whole career, I believe. And he started around in the early 60s playing music. I have seen him perform on the channel once before. He was a guest artist of sorts. He was the guy in the pink suit, as I sometimes called him, or the pink guy, in my reaction to Money for Nothing by Dire Straits. It was a live version of that, and he was there. And I was like, I kind of recognize him. And it's like, yep, I got it, because I just knew like an older version of him from the early 90s. So I might recognize him a lot here as well. So this is not just about getting to know these artists. Why else are we here? I am a professional, classically trained musician, instrumentalist, vocalist, composer, and professor. So we dive into all different aspects of this music, how it was composed, all the instrumentation, the form, theory. Sometimes I do some instrument demonstrations. And we take a look at why we like this music, or maybe why we don't like it. Okay, so enough delay. Let's listen. Okay, here we go. Okay, I'm going to back it up. We're going to hear this chorus part again. All right, this is a very lively song. It has the minor key to it, though. So he's talking about a woman who sort of overpowers him. Either she's so beautiful or whatever that he is just always overcome by her presence. So yeah, that's an intense emotion. Well, this is a much closer look at Eric Clapton than I had with my previous experience here on the channel, with him just like hanging around in the pink suit playing a few guitar riffs in the Dire Straits' Money for Nothing. It was a live video. But I do just sort of barely recall in my mind, because there was a video that was played a lot back in the 90s, the Tears in Heaven, the song, and it was just him and a guitar. He was like sitting on a stool or something, and the stage is empty, and it's just him. And I do have that image in my mind. So he does look familiar to me in that way, but I don't remember his hair being this nice. He's got some awesome hair. But I certainly didn't hear him singing like this. I didn't see him playing the electric guitar like this, with a cigarette hanging out of it. Okay, so he's a pretty cool guy. Like his stage presence, his musical presentation here. And I don't think that he existed in my mind, in my memory this way. because the Tears in Heaven song was a slow song, really beautiful and very simplistic. This is a different side to him, so kind of exciting. I don't hear the orchestra or see, are they there? Is there an orchestra there? All right, well, we've got time. I'm going to back it up a little bit and hear this chorus. Let's keep going. I love this energy.
Ooh, I'm in love with you. Turn the whole world upside down. Got me on my knees. Begging, darling, please. Darling, won't you ease my worried mind? Make the best of this situation. Or I'm finally going insane. Please don't say we'll never burn away. Tell me all my love can pay. Got me on my knees. Begging, darling, please. Darling, won't you ease my worried mind? Layla, got me on my knees. Begging, darling, please. Darling, won't you ease my worried mind?
All right, something's about to happen. All right. So I made a realization here. Some of the lyrics started to seem really familiar to me. Is there another version of this song? Maybe that came out in the early 90s, like the same as, well, I guess when this was recorded, but also around when Tears in Heaven came out? Is there a slow version of this? Is that this? Because I know of that song too. Like it was just kind of always on the radio. But the two versions are very different. Very different. All right, okay. I'll eventually get to the bottom of that. But finally get to see him really rock out on the guitar. Didn't really get to see much of him doing that. Like he tried to do it in the Money for Nothing video, but he was just a guest. So it was just very brief. But here, he was totally showcased. And so I got an up-close look. He's really bluesy, at least the influence, super bluesy, even in his singing. Just the way it's a little grumbly and he's got his eyes closed and, you know, the beard. There's just something about it that's just definitely in roots of the blues. Okay, but his technique is really, really smooth and very proficient, way up high. He just kind of centered around all of those notes right up there, just super comfortable, way up high on the fingerboard or the neck, you know, of the guitar. I was admiring his vibrato. So similar to classical string instruments, I've been learning that guitar vibrato, you have three different types. You have a finger vibrato. Let me demonstrate. Where you move the string, kind of wiggling the string back and forth on the actual fingerboard, on the neck. And then you have a wrist vibrato, in which you use the wrist. So only movement is happening from the wrist up. And sometimes on a guitar, it's sort of sideways like this instead of this direction. That's what you have to do for violins and violas. But for guitar, you can kind of go this way. So that's more of a wrist vibrato. Then there is an arm vibrato in which the whole arm, basically from the elbow up, is moved back and forth like that. And so believe it or not, that is what I am seeing. And I haven't seen that on very many guitarists so far. He has a straight up arm vibrato where it's not just his hand, it's the whole arm moving. And you can sometimes really get a more intense, sort of a wider vibrato, but still keeping a really tight speed. At least that's the way it works for the classical violin. Okay, so things were really calming down. Let's see where they're going next. Okay, I hate to interrupt the guitar solo. It's been going on for a while now, though. I think we can be forgiven for that. I will back it up just a little bit. Okay, I'm not sure what this slower part of the song is. Is it part of the original? I don't know, but that's okay. I'm here to learn. We will find out. I can go back and do the studio version if I need to. It's all cool. I'm just happy to see this orchestra performing. They're fantastic. And I don't know who did the orchestration for this. Perhaps Michael Kamen. I don't know. He worked with a lot of bands at this time, I think. The entire symphony orchestra is being utilized. You hear the harp, the horns, the strings, the woodwinds, everything. The brass and the percussion. It's just, it's very luscious and it's really well balanced. And then we have Mr. Clapton standing on his own. soloing over an entire symphony orchestra. And so this is Royal Albert Hall, so I'm assuming this is a pretty major symphony orchestra. One of the Philharmonics? London Phil? I don't know. All right. Excellent musicians, you can tell. They're fantastic. And again, the orchestration, the composition of it is really, really nice. But here he is with the sound of his lone guitar soloing over the top of this entire symphony orchestra. Not everybody can do that. So he's got some skills, y'all, and he's got some good confidence too. But at this point, if he started in the early 60s, he's been doing this for 30 years. He knows what he's doing. But did you catch the vibrato? So as he's moving his whole forearm. As he's moving that, it's bending the strings along the neck, along the fingerboard, but the motion is originating from his elbow. I think it's a very graceful looking kind of vibrato on a guitar. And again, I haven't seen that too many other times, if at all, before. So I'm kind of impressed. Maybe he does have some classical training in his background. I don't know. All right. Really enjoying his solo and the orchestra and that percussionist back there on the cymbal. Yeah. Okay. Let's back it up a little tiny bit and then finish it out. All right, good ending. A nice Beethoven kind of ending where it just kind of goes and goes and goes and slows down and finish. Big finish. It was fun seeing the timpani at the end. That was neat. I like some of the chord progressions in this slower part. There's one specific spot that really grabs your heart. Let's see if we can go back and find that. Do you hear that lusciousness, that chord? Let's hear it again. It happened over and over and over again. It was so yummy. You hear the harp? Woo! Yeah, that's pretty luscious, right? Yeah, something for our hearts to latch onto there. There was another fun little place right at the end. I think it was when the violins ascended higher and higher, and then there was a little cluster chord at the end that was really interesting. And I think it harkened back to that little chord progression there. Let's see if we can find this. little chord right there. Yeah, so as they went up the scale, they held on to the last couple of notes all together. I don't know why, but it's that kind of little touch in music that can just really make the difference. And sometimes it goes by really quickly, and sometimes it's in an instrument that isn't the solo instrument, but it leaves an imprint on you whether or not you realize it. So that little place right there was really neat. Again, I loved the timpani and all that bum, 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 at the end. That was really fun. This is just so different, like the opening to this part. And again, is the original like that? I don't know. Okay, but I think I'm right. Even though this slower part is not the other song, the LAYLA song. I think that's the name of it, LAYLA. Yeah. Got me on my knees, LAYLA. Yeah. Beg and please, LAYLA. Yeah. Okay, I know that song from back then. It was a little bit more bluesy and really slow. And so, is this the original version then? The fast stuff, right? The fast part. It's the same song, just fast. Okay, let's go back and hear it. I like that little bend. It's a great riff. Little key change there. Darling, please. Okay. Yeah, that's the same song that I know, but this is a fast version. All right. And again, I know his voice singing slower songs with a beautiful head voice that he sings way up high. I've not heard him sing all grumbly like this. It's pretty cool. I see why people like his style. And his voice really is lovely when it's up in the head voice. So yeah, that guitar riff right there, excellent. Good writing. Obviously, it was a big hit. Stands the test of time. And with that little bend in there, he does it so well. So this was a really exciting presentation here. Anything with an orchestra is exciting for me. But getting to see a little bit more of this artist is also really exciting. And his band, the keyboardists, oh my goodness, the percussionists, the drummer, rocking out. I think MVP, obviously Eric Clapton is quite wonderful, but MVP in the band goes to the drummer because I saw him with his tambourine work and then what he was doing with the cymbal. Yeah, he was really into it. All right, runner-up though, the conductor of the orchestra. I think that might be Michael Kamen. I kind of recognize his curly hair. And I know he worked with a lot of bands around this time. And I personally just really love Michael Kamen's orchestrations. But for now, this orchestration was quite enjoyable, whether or not that was Kamen. If you know, let me know in the comments. But yeah, this is really fun to get to know Clapton. Okay, so that was Eric Clapton with a live version of LAYLA. So I believe I do know the slow version of this song. I've got to be right about that because it's the same lyrics and it's sort of the same melody, but the other one is just super, super slow. And now I guess that makes sense because it was like a live recording of that song in the 90s and everybody was like super excited about it. And I was like, who is this guy? I don't know who this is. But then he had Tears in Heaven. And so that was a really nice song. But that was also associated with a movie, I think, at the time. So I just thought it was like, not a one-hit wonder, but just, a song with a motion picture. Okay, but we're learning more. So now I know that Eric Clapton was a star in the 60s and 70s. And I just didn't know that. So now I do. So I've seen him sing slower, lighter stuff. I've seen him rock out on the guitar. I've seen him sing his bluesy rock stuff. I think I'm actually getting a taste of his plethora of talents here. But I know there's way more. It's just the beginning. So if you have any other recommendations from Eric Clapton, please let me know. But for now, like I said, this is a lot of fun, getting another glimpse into his artistry. And it was kind of a cool song. Excellent, just like rocking out kind of song. And then it went into whatever that was. In the second half, it actually kind of reminded me of something by ELO, maybe. Some of the chords in there, the chord progressions were kind of similar. So don't forget to do all the things, like and subscribe. You can find me on Patreon, Ko-fi, support the channel through Throne, or become a channel member. And as always, just remember that you don't have to be perfect, just be okay. And keep listening.